SMART24, driving business.
A warm welcome once again to SMART24 television. This is the business edition where we're going to make a recap of the stories that made the headline in our weekly bulletin. Among the stories that we're going to run is the finance committee that grilled the government over the incentives that are being given to both local and international investors, where more than 11 trillion is being lost within this very exercise. And more of the stories will be coming in your way. My name is Pedison Mumbere. You're most welcome once again. This is the business edition. My name is Pedison Mumbere, and we're going to start with our very own story. Remember, we had the celebration of the International AIDS Day that was celebrated in Lukunjiri district. I saw the President of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, extending his sincere gratitude towards the funders that have helped Uganda to make sure that the AIDS transmission is reduced in the country. Our reporter Martha Nimsima compiled a lot of statistics and the number of and how much money we have got in as far as eradicating AIDS in the country is concerned. Let's have more of this very story.
The most current Ugandan budget included $500,000 for the HIV preventive initiatives, $3 million for the Uganda AIDS Commission's fight against HIV, and around $30 million for the acquisition of antiretroviral and anti-malaria drugs. About $430.7 million is given to Uganda by UNAIDS, World Health Organization, and other organizations. All of these funds have been allocated to reduce the transmissions of HIV and AIDS as Uganda joins the rest of the world in the commemoration of the International AIDS Day. His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni expressed his sincere gratitude for the compensation of the donations.
I want to thank the United States government for the support they have been giving to us in the issue of AIDS and other disease control measures. I also thank and as for the sustainable funding, we shall fund. There's no way we can fail to fund our people. There's no way. Yes, there are so many things to do, and as long as the donors are helping us to do some of these health issues, that's welcome. But if they were not able to do that for some reason, then we definitely would suppress other things and fund our people. So it's not really a big worry. It's a worry because it will stretch our resources, but we cannot fail to do it. We shall do it if it becomes necessary. But if the friends can continue supporting, that means we are able to put our other money into other areas and widen the spectrum of intervention.
According to the Global Fund, Uganda receives approximately $0.94 billion to fight HIV/AIDS in the year 2020-2022. The prevalence of HIV among adults aged 15 to 64 in Uganda is 6.2%, 7.6% among females and 4.7% among males. This corresponds approximately 1.2 million people aged 15 to 64 living with HIV in Uganda. HIV prevalence is higher among women living in urban areas, 9.8%, than those in rural areas, 6.7%. The prevalence of HIV among children aged 0 to 14 is 0.5%, which corresponds approximately 95,000 children living with HIV in Uganda. The government urges citizens to be secure and protect themselves from HIV/AIDS because the country needs healthy Ugandans that will build the economy. It's from this basis that Honorable Margaret Okungu Mokaho Kumane Mpina Mayengo emphasized the need for more awareness.
Government, I want to commend the government because we've tried in this regime, we've tried to create awareness. The situation is not as it used to be, where people used to think it is witchcraft, it is what. At least people are aware. even be it to the children in schools and everywhere. There has been enough awareness across.
For a long time, Uganda's HIV response has been benefited from donor support. However, the donor support has been reducing with competing priorities. Uganda has been prioritizing the HIV responses and allocated additional funds, especially towards the purchase of ARVs, whose budget has doubled over the last couple of years. Martha Nimsima, SMART24 TV.
Yeah, this is the right story coming from Martha Nimsimi, and we had these celebrations done in Rukunjiri district. But among the statistics here, they're saying reports indicate that HIV prevalence is higher among women in urban areas at a tune of 9.8%. And these are some of the things that we should fight against. And I'm very sure that if funding continues, we're going to have AIDS transmission put on flat or eradicating it to 0%, perhaps if we have God's grace. Getting to another story here, well, like I said, the Finance Committee, the Parliamentary Finance Committee grilled the government over the incentives. Incentives, I mean the tax holidays that are given to both local and international investors in the country, where over 11 trillion is being lost in these exercises. Our parliamentary reporter, Hanifa, was there, and she had a lot from the parliament. Let's have more of this very story.
In an effort to draw international investors who greatly boosted the GDP and foreign exchange rates of the nation, the government of Uganda implemented a policy of tax incentives or exemptions in 1991. The strategy does have some costly consequences for the country. Officials from the Ministry of Finance have been questioned by legislators regarding the criteria used to award these incentives, but they have been unable to provide an explanation.
You provided a generalized response. So have you got some specific responses to the questions that we asked?
Okay. Because we thought we are answering your questions. The impression you are giving us that we are off the point, or?
No, I think
maybe the examiner and the student.
Okay, can you, Honorable
so what I will do, Mr. Chairman, I have a big technical team here. They can help me to respond to your concern. Yes.
But I'm hearing a lot of theory, when we shall do this, then we shall do this. Isn't it being done? And it is being done to who? Where is that list of people?
We consider this 5, this is the list, this is what we did then. We gave them, we arrived at these figures because of ABCD. That's what we want to know.
However, the officials have admitted their shortcomings in observing the businesses receiving these incentives and have assured the public that a new strategy has been developed to ensure that these firms are rigorously examined to ensure that they adhere to all the instructions given to them.
There has been a problem with the tax exemptions, tax incentives in this country. And we have all agreed that we need to move. That's why we had to consult right from His Excellency the President that please, Your Excellency, allow us to rationalize fully this. And he gave us a no objection on especially having put in place a clear plan on how this is going to be done. So instead of dwelling on the past, what has been happening and who to blame, because now the institutions, right from my ministry, the URA and other MDAs that are supposed to play UIA and so on in this role, each of us is going to be accountable for ensuring that we get this territory also very well cleaned up, rationalized, and we get value for money in terms of exemptions which are good for attracting investment. They should show the benefit.
Additionally, Minister Lugolobi told the legislators that while they recognize the incentives cost the nation more money, dealing away with them is a mistake.
It has been estimated that the amount that we have foregone through tax incentives
is in the region of about 11 trillion shillings over the last 3 years. But this is measured against what we have been able to achieve in terms of GDP. Because these industries contribute towards our GDP, and therefore the GDP per capita, we are actually tending towards a middle income status. But also the impact on other variables, such as the exchange rate. We have enjoyed a fairly stable exchange rate regime. Inflation has been stable, despite the recent challenges that we have experienced because of global inflationary pressures. But otherwise, the macroeconomic indicators have been fairly stable.
The IMF advised against restricting investor entry whether incentives are offered or not. However, data from the Ministry of Finance shows that investors that come to Uganda frequently want these incentives and they are compelled to offer them.
IMF has been telling us over time that investors don't actually need tax exemptions to come. But government has found that, to the contrary, actually every investor that comes is asking for them. So we are wondering. So what we need to do is really rationalize and ensure that as they ask, we provide them under a framework which is very well defined.
Legislators stress that the policy should be rationalized to achieve value for money for the nation after being dissatisfied with the comments of the finance officials.
But unfortunately, although we sent them written questions and we had expected written answers, they didn't have written specific responses on those questions, and PSST has agreed to get back to us with a written response within a certain deadline. And so we also have accepted that, and we're waiting to hear from them.
Even though studies indicate that tax incentives have not delivered what they're supposed to, government still generously grants them. The same government has realized that there's actually a problem with these incentives, which leaves the members of parliament who sit on the Committee of Finance concerned with the billions of money the country keeps losing in this policy. Samla Hanifa, SMART24 TV.
Yeah, giving incentives is very okay, but sometimes, well, the MPs raised their dissatisfactions on how these grants are being given to this, all the standards, all the tactics, all the methods are being given, the methods that they use to be given out. It is what brought questions in Parliament. But I think this is the way to go. Maybe if time reach, we can get out of these incentives and we can do better without them. But most of the MPs are saying too much money is lost within this very exercise. But still have been having problems that even when these foreigners come here, they will still request for these tax holidays, and we just have nothing to do. And we've made a lot of losses whereby an investor will come here, we give him a tax holiday of over 10 years, and then after he runs bankrupt, we have given him free land, we've given him everything, and then after he's like, I'm bankrupt, I'm getting back to my country. I think that's where the 11 trillion is being lost in such exercises. Getting to another story here, we're seeing the special budget for gender-based violence. Most of the MPs and most of the stakeholders are saying it is time government should allocate funds to gender-based violence that is rising in the country. Reports are saying here, saying that it is estimated that 50.6 billion shillings is being spent annually to try to deal with gender-based violence. And let's have more of this story from Monica Nabionga.
The major cause of gender-based violence is around poverty. There is no money in the houses. People fight for property, spoons and forks and everything. But we think that if we deal with broad poverty, definitely these cases are likely to reduce.
He urged the government to put in a lot of effort, particularly in influencing people's attitudes, because problems can always be resolved without hurting anyone.
So mindsets change. Children don't go to school, not because there are no schools, but children feel that children can do other things instead of going to school. But also men, girls and boys and women to understand that you can settle differences by not killing each other. So basically that's what we're talking about, where money should be going.
Mukunda contends that despite the nation's debt reaching $80 trillion, money to prevent gender-based violence should be taken into consideration by the government.
Yes, the money is not enough, but I think it's a question of situating ourselves and ensuring that we can be able to have an idea very well packaged and sellable politically. And if we cannot do that, I can tell you, even if we have the best idea, it's not going to be funded. So ensuring that we package our messages very well. One of the things I have recommended, for example, is that right now we have the National Budget Framework paper. Do we have these gender-based violence issues in the National Budget Framework paper? Do we have a national plan of action for the GBV, which we can all ensure that it is in the budget? So these are some of the critical elements that we need to be able to look at.
However, other district leaders have also added their voices, saying that gender-based violence needs a separate budget.
It is not that it is the local governments that are going to raise the resources. What government needs from us as local government leaders is to ensure that we have a code to that effect that is tagged to GBV. And of course you are aware that we are interdependent on government for us to get resources to implement some of these activities. We get money from government. So they just want us as leaders to drive tagging to GBV such that government can plan in advance for the activities of fighting against GBV.
This is a very critical matter in our country. And for Karenga district, we do not have a specific budget coming directly from government. Actually, what is there is little. Much of the help we get for GBV is coming from our partners. I know that we have a challenge of funding, but from the little that we have, the government has, they should be able to give us some money at districts, to community-based services departments, who should be able to sensitize the communities together with the political leaders about gender-based violence.
Yes, that's all about gender-based violence in the country. And this is Julius Mokonda, AD from CSBAG, making some of the points. It's like it is time we engage all these funds to the government to see how best we can reduce gender-based violence in the country. And but I still imagine, why would you beat your wife? And you wife, why would you beat your husband? Why would you ban your wife? Why would you? But I mean, these are some of the things that we should eliminate. And here, according to statistics, they're saying over 50.6 billion shillings is being spent within such fake exercises. These are some things that we can go with. Gender-based violence is not very good. But most of the reports are saying that this comes as a result of poverty. When a man runs bankrupt or man runs poverty, he will end up beating a wife or something like that. But I think this is something we can go with. Let's get to another story here. We're getting to an annual agricultural survey report that was released by Uganda Bureau of Statistics. And among the statistics that they released over the weekend, they were like 76% of the soybean production is sold unprocessed. That means there is no value addition, and over 45 of soybean also is being sold, but it's just remaining in the country here. Value addition is very important here, and some of the products, and if we are producing some of the agricultural products and we're not adding any value addition, that means we are losing a lot. And SMART24 TV caught up with the State Minister for Agriculture, Honorable Bwino Chakulaga, who made some of the statements and was like, the statistics are good, but still there's no need of an alarm. We can hold this, we can always have solutions for this. He also tackled the issue of agricultural extension workers in different districts, whereby most of them are no longer there, and we have few of them. This has had a very big impact on the agricultural production in the country. Let us have more of this very story. The The agricultural sector continues to be the most important, for it employs approximately 72% of the population and currently contributes about 32% of the country's GDP. However, productivity is still limited by post-harvest losses and lack of enough extension services, among others. According to the data from the annual agricultural survey report that was disseminated by Uganda Bureau of Statistics, 14% of the agriculturists received extension services, 1.9% paid for them, and 44% got these services from the local government. Uganda's post-harvest losses range from 30 to 40 for grains and other staples, and 30 to 80% for fresh fruits and vegetables. According to Honorable Wino Chakulaga, the State Minister for Agriculture, this is catastrophic for the economy and needs immediate attention.
The government increased the staffing levels of extension workers from the previous, which was about one extension worker serving 5,000 farmers, to the current level of one extension worker serving 1,800 farmers. But that doesn't mean that we have done everything. That's why I said it's work in progress. We are going to do more.
Uganda can gain substantially from her agricultural products if the country can adopt and implement value addition techniques and strategies. However, the agricultural statistics from WUBOS 2020 indicates that some of the products are sold and processed without value addition.
The use of the cassava mainly used for own consumption. 67% of the cassava produced was used for own consumption when you looked at the second season total production. 16% was sold unprocessed.
The data further indicates that the rice production increased by 65% in 2020 and 65% was sold unprocessed. 78% of the soybean production was as well sold and processed, and maize at 47.5%. The minister says that the findings concerning value addition are not abnormal.
The statistics are showing the level of processing at the farm level. Yes, it is true that there is less processing at the farm level, but it's not abnormal. It's not 100% abnormal. Because most of the products are processed somewhere centrally. So what happens is that the many farmers have to bulk their products at a certain point. And it's the bulked products that are taken to the processing, to the final processing. So the findings are not very abnormal.
The agricultural survey indicates that 76% of the agricultural household heads are engaged in agriculture as their main economic activity. Teso sub-region had the highest of 92%, West Nile 90%, and South Buganda with 57%. Yeah, that's all about the agricultural survey report that came from Uganda Bureau of Statistics. This is a report that was released in 2022 about agriculture. But what I left out was the rice. They're saying here the rice production also is being sold and processed to a tune of 65%. And that's a very big problem. Having our rice here and we are adding no value, we're just selling it unprocessed. It's a very big problem, and it may not contribute a lot to the economic growth. Let's get to another story here. We think government has pledged to support a savings group, and they're saying a Myoga program has grown up to 75 million, and we hope that even the parish development model is going to release good impacts that will impact this very country. I saw the Vice President of Uganda, Her Excellency Jessica Alupo, making lots of statements, and also the State Minister for Microfinance, Haruna Kasolo, making some of the statements. Let's get more of this very story and see.
So the results of ensuring that people access microfinance, especially when they have been trained and guided, are extremely enormous. And the 72 billion the minister was talking about speaks volumes to all of us. I just want to encourage you to continue serving the people through your different organizations, and assure you that as government will continue to be your strongest working partners and continue pulling in the same direction with you.
Minister Kasolo highlights the need of saving and investing in the effort to achieve the middle income status. The saving culture in Uganda is still in a concerning position, nevertheless.
We want to ensure that we inculcate saving culture into the people. Ugandans have kind of abandoned saving culture. They are addicted to getting free things, support from government. And what disturbs me, whatever they get from government, they think it is supposed to be abused. It is supposed to be wasted. They just spend it anyhow. So under these very important programs, the MIOGA and the PDM, we are encouraging the beneficiaries to embrace saving culture. We cannot achieve the middle income status, because if people do not have purchasing power, even if we have supported manufacturers, the local market will be dormant. People will have no money to support the local market. Therefore, we need to see that we encourage people to earn money so that they can have purchasing power and therefore support the local market.
He notes that under the MIOGA savings circles, groups have been able to save up to 74 billion shillings since 2019. On the move to regulate here for microfinance, Professor Balunywa and Honorable Kasolo have different minds.
In a society where you expect people to start businesses on their own without support from government, you should give them sufficient time to grow, after which you start regulating them. But if you put the regulation before they start the business, then you are killing them. One of the reasons why Ugandans cannot start business is because the environment is over-regulated. So you find those who have the money from abroad come and start their own businesses, and they are very successful. But before you know what the consumers need, you cannot put a regulation in place. So to me, it's very important that before the regulation is put in place, before rules are put in place, we must understand what the problem is.
Before Tier 4 microfinance institutions, the Managers Act, SACCOs used to collapse. Managers used to swindle savers' monies. But with this act, now, there is a certainty in the industry. So therefore, I think the professor's argument, let us not over-regulate SACCOs or saving groups if they are still at infancy stage. But if a SACCO has been into existence for some time and it has mobilized capital, I think it is good to be saved, to be regulated.
Ugandans have also been urged to consider the environment while setting up businesses if Uganda is to achieve a sustainable economy.
Where we've reached now, everybody appreciates that businesses or all actors in the economy have to pay attention to certain things if we are to have sustainability of, first of all, the businesses, sustainability of the economy and everything around us. And that's why it is important to focus on the environment, protection of the environment. That's the first acronym of ESG. The second one is the social impact of the people that we give these services to. And thirdly, the governance. governance of systems, how are we ensuring that everything is properly governed, what systems do we have, and so on. So those three things, if we don't focus on them and we continue to focus on the traditional element of profits, then we won't have sustainability of everything that we are doing. That's why it is becoming very, very important and critical that whoever is doing business, whoever is governing things, we need to focus on the ESG concepts.
60% of Ugandan enterprises are now focusing on economic social governance strategy while operating their businesses. Monica Navyonga, SMART24 TV.
That's the information coming from the Vice President of Uganda, Her Excellency Jessica Lupo, and the Minister for Microfinance, Haruna Kasalo, making some of the statements there. And I will be going in for a commercial break. The business edition is still going on. My name is Pedison Mumbere. I'll be right back in just a second.
SMART24, driving business.
The body of Mr. Namdi Wokiji was found at a beach house this morning.
When was the last time you saw Namdi?
At a party.
Did you notice anything strange about last night?
Are you taking money from my mother for this wedding?
You shouldn't be looking at that.
Ichi killed my son, and I want the world to know it.
Conductor Masao.
Hey, why? Overdolo byokusimu.
Yamunange, anti your TV enkolera.
Enjoy a new world of entertainment with over 80 TV and radio channels, plus movies from wherever you are. Download the Yo TV Channels app from your app store and enjoy 30 days of free streaming with MTN.
Yo TV Channels.
Luxury redefined at Seasan Hotel as you indulge in the splendor of elegant living fit for the royalty that you are. Step into comfort, pampering and blissful customer-centric service as you select from our range of comfy exquisite living quarters furnished to meet with your royal preference. Surrounded by scenic beauty, our tropical setting allows you to escape the glamorous ordeal of city life. Our ambient green gardens will guide you to a place of revitalizing rest. The 3-star restaurant caters to your palate, serving your choice menu ranging from exotic cuisines to local delicacies. Our chefs will serve you full-course meals for a truly out-of-this-world culinary experience. Our fully stocked bar to whet your throat, from renowned global brand whisks, brandies, gins, beers and wines to our locally celebrated beverages, you will not lack for any brewage. It's an all-new experience in the East at Seasan Hotel. So visit today at Plot 15 to 19 Spire Road, Ginger, or contact us on +256 751 719 960 and +256 785 354 614 for reservations. Seasan Hotels, luxury redefined.
SMART24, driving business.
You must welcome back from that commercial break. The business edition is still continuing. And now let's get to another story here. I'm seeing the benefits of registering your business. Our reporter caught up with Charlotte Mudola, who gave us the benefits and the procedures you should follow to register your business. Remember, in this very country, if your business is not registered, you miss very many opportunities, and you miss seeing funders, by the way. So URSB is here responsible to register your business. So if truly you go for business registration, you'll be getting funders who can be helping you to expand your business. Let's have more of this very story from Bronia Katosini.
When you decide to create a business, you must determine whether or not to incorporate it. Before selecting an option, you should consider a number of facts, including how it will affect your taxes, your personal liability, the expense, and any potential issues if you need to dissolve the registered business.
So the different entities that we register have different requirements. For example, business names, which is the cheapest, requires just filling a form called a business name application form, a fee of 24,000 shillings, and the ID of the partners in the entity. Then we have what they call private companies by shares. We look at the nominal share capital of the company. I'm going to give an example. If the share capital of the company is 1 million, we look at a standard fee of registration, which is 50,000. Then the stamp duty, which is 40,000. Then you'd have what they call memorandum and articles of association of the company, with different forms required thereunder. So when it comes to a company of 1 million, it doesn't require a lot to register a company private by shares.
Businesses have a number of legal concerns that must not be disregarded. In the simplest of circumstances, a business may encounter difficulties such as doubts about its legitimacy, problems with employee and customer trust, a lack of consumers for your brand, and the inability of unregistered businesses to engage in open business dealings with major corporations, as well as to engage in unpaid advertising and sales.
You miss out big customers, we call them corporate customers, big companies, like for instance, the multinational companies. Most of them, since they don't pay cash when they approach wiring services and products, usually they pay into a business's bank account. And as you know, if your business is not registered, it can never operate an account with any bank. Another thing is, you find it so difficult to compete with like big competitors, unless you have a monopoly in your industry or in line of the business you're doing. Otherwise, you find stiff competition from registered entities from your industry.
Registration offers your company legitimacy and enables you to provide services like warranties, refunds, and exchange, which are extra benefits that clients will undoubtedly value and evidence that you have nothing to conceal. Consequently, people have greater faith in your service. Bronia Katsime, SMART24 TV.
I'm seeing a very young man from URSB trying to explain the importance and the procedures you should follow to register your business. I've met a couple of people from the villages there, not only in Kampala, but I've seen very many people saying that we should register our business. But which procedures? Who should register our businesses? You've seen by yourself, and this is what SMART24 TV does for you. We bring you people who matters in business. So if at all your business is not registered, kindly just run to URSB, register your business, and you'll be able to get funders who can help your business to grow to another level. Don't miss on that. Now let's get into another story here. The President of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, has again ordered for the management of markets to come back again to KCCA. But as all we know, the Lord Mayor of Kampala is saying, my dear, there are some procedures we should follow. Though you've given your directive that market management should also get back to KCCA, but still there are some procedures we should follow. Our reporter was on ground, and she brought some information from the president of, from the Lord Mayor, Elias Lukwago and Haruna. And let's have more of this very story and see what happened on that very day.
That we need, as the authority, to urgently put in place interim committees to manage this market and bring a halt to all the processes being pursued by government officers elsewhere, including the Prime Minister's office, Ministry for Kampala and elsewhere, of installing again new leaderships in the markets without going through the council presided over by the Speaker and the division. There are directives that were issued, but there are processes that we have to follow. The bottom line and the fundamental issue right now is the legal regime governing markets right now. There's total confusion. We had the legislation of 1942 which has been operational since then, but we consider it to be archaic, moribund, and out of date. It's not in tandem with modern times. It has been overtaken by events. It had vested absolute authority in municipal authorities to establish, control, and manage markets. The ED, the minister, and all government agents swung into action and started implementing it at a very supersonic speed. And we are saying, no, we can't be stampeded as KCCA. No, we don't want to be stampeded. There are processes that we must follow. There is a law in place.
The Central Division Mayor of Kampala, however, stated that this direction will assist in resolving market disputes and overcharging vendors, which have persisted for years.
You very well know the markets have been a bonanza of money sharing. You have heard the Lord Mayor even talking about it. So to avoid that money sharing, let KCCA take charge, let the money go to Revenue Authority, let the money go to KCCA vote, and let KCCA be the one having the expenditure of that money, not individual, not Salim Uhuru.
Salim claims that President Museveni handed the city hawkers the Nachivo settlement after they wrote to him asking him to locate them a place to work from during this festive season. However, the Lord Mayor has also denied this claim.
The Batembe had written to us a letter, or to the Mayor's office of the Mayor, requesting for the Christmas season bazaar to have where to work from. And it's our mandate as the Mayor, it's my mandate to say I give opportunities to our Batembe to see that they can work in Kampala Central. So there was the issue of the Sunday market, which was rejected. The issue of going back to the roads was totally rejected. And the nearest place I identified was Nachivobo settlement. When I brought it to the attention of the president asked me, Uhuru, where do you want my children to go now? I told him, Your Excellency, it will be holiday time. And they'll be having holidays by this week. So when they have holidays, when they are going back to school, the Batembe will go back to their normal places where they used to be. So he said, okay, if that's an opportunity for them to work, why not? So I want to thank His Excellency for accepting an opportunity for them also to work. It is a temporary gesture of where to work. Not
change of user of Nachivo settlement. That's how we have lost school land. Chagwe Road, Aramugaria, Aria, Shimon, Muslim Girls, which is now Namayiva Park, and so many others. So now we can see maneuvers being undertaken by some individuals to grab that land under the guise of creating a bazaar for vendors during this festive season. It is so appetizing and appealing, but it only makes sense to simple minds.
All this has come at a time when the Kampala Capital City Authority budget has been cut from 470 billion to 375 billion shillings. Monica Nabyonga, SMART24 TV.
Yes, the Lord Mayor of Kampala was like, much as the President has directed the management of markets getting back to KCCA, but there are some procedures that should be followed. Let's wait and see whether these procedures will be put on the table and see how best they can be implemented. Let us get to another story here. I'm saying the Parliament of Uganda grilled these Education and Sports Committee of the exorbitant fees that are being paid in government-aided schools. They're saying this is not proper, and I saw the Minister for Education, Mwengo, being grilled as to why he is not following up on these fees. Some of the government-aided schools have a tendency of increasing fees at a higher level, and most of the parents are failing to reach or to pay these fees even when they're in government schools. Our parliamentary reporter Hanifa was in Parliament, and let's have more of this very story.
Parliament instructed the Education and Sports Committee to investigate the issue of exorbitant fee hikes by government-aided schools, and it was determined that the government has no official memorandum of understanding with these institutions, allowing them to set their own fees. The Ministry of Education has been asked by the committee to explain why it cannot control these schools' fees structure while injecting in additional funds on top of the high tuition that parents must pay. In response, the ministry claims that consultations must be held first, which infuriated the lawmakers.
With consultations. And one of the very important stakeholders to be consulted is you. You've heard what Honorable Sekungu is talking about. What he's talking about is exactly what will be, what we expect when we come to you for consultations. Otherwise, it would have been very easy for me to sit in my office and draft a regulation, but it will not be respected as much as when we have input from you people. And this is the wise counsel we got from Parliament, rather from Cabinet. Cabinet has decided that we go and consult again.
According to the legislators, government did not consult schools when it introduced the UPE system in 1996. And now with their own aided schools, they want to first do consultations as schools take advantage of the situation.
In 1996, when UPE was coming to existence, Ministry of Education set fees against what parents were paying in government schools. What did they do? They said a child from P1 to P4 would pay 18,000, and they gave a breakdown of all that money, utilities and everything. Ever since then, they have never raised that money. Now, there is no way. And the P3 to P4, they gave 22,400. That's what is happening in all these schools. Now, there is no way the minister can come to this committee and say that they have to consult to determine regulation of fees, yet they did at the inception of UPE, where they have run it for over 20 years, leaving all the schools collapsing. So the minister is avoiding a pertinent answer. And Mr. Chairman, you have stated it, that he has not responded to our question. We are saying, why are your government-aided schools and schools charging exorbitant fees? But the regulation of that fees can be determined without consultation by the Ministry of Education, because they have ever done it for UPE. Mr. Chairman, that is well known. But all UPE schools were charging.
The MPs have also stressed out that government has not been giving these schools capital development grant, as it claims from the engagements they have had with most of these schools.
when we were interacting with these schools, many schools denied having received any capital development grants. An example is Kawempe Muslim Secondary School, a school that is over 30 years, but they denied having received anything like capital development grant, either for construction of buildings or any equipment, nothing to do with the capital development. And yet when you look at this list that is provided here, it is included among the list of schools that have ever received capital development grants.
On the issue of closure of schools before the actual date, Member of Parliament from Soroti City has criticized government for being unrealistic and unfair to the districts of Kasanda and Mubende, which were affected by Ebola but could allow events with big numbers of people in Kampala, yet it equally has Ebola cases.
But I'm very disappointed, Mr. Chair and colleagues, that last week artist called Eddie Kenzo gathered thousands of people in Kololo airstrip. Shortly after that, the MTN Marathon equally collected thousands of people in Kololo airstrip. Here you go ahead and shut down the schools. You went ahead and shut down Mubende. I'm talking as government. You went ahead and shut down Kasambia district. Kasanda. But then you allow thousands of people to gather in Kololo. And government is aware. Government cleared these functions. Does this Ebola only apply in schools and particular districts that you have shut down and not to other sectors of the country?
The committee has accepted the 5 weeks as requested by Minister Muyingo to finish all the consultations required so that they can inform them well on their standing resolution as far as fees structure of government-aided schools is concerned. Samlanifa, SMART24 TV.
Yeah, the Minister for Education was tasked to follow up on these issues. It's very true, some of the government schools have incidents of increasing fees there, some exorbitant fees, and every school has its own fees, and yet it is aided by government. So this is not very proper, and that's what the Parliament has been talking about, and they were tasking the State Minister for Education, Justice Muyingo, to follow up on these very issues. And I am seeing here the Minister was saying he has to first get to the schools and get permission, something like that, but this is not very true. And if the government is aided, I mean if a certain school is aided by government, there's no need for these exorbitant fees. Getting to another story here, I'm seeing the Africa Continental Free Trade Value Addition. Here are most of the parliamentarians and stakeholders, especially legislators, are saying for us to take advantage of the free trade of the continental free trade, there must be value addition to all the products that we are producing here. The continental free trade is very important, but it will not be important for us when there's no value addition. Let us get more of this very story and see what most of the legislators said.
The majority of the world's economies were negatively impacted by COVID-19, and Uganda was not exempt. Uganda has significant chance to accelerate its economy, combat poverty, and increase economic inclusion thanks to the Continental Free Trade Agreement in Africa. Legislators claim that although the free trade agreement is crucial for the country, more attention should be paid to processed goods than to raw materials we currently export.
Much as Asia, America have opened their markets, to me, as long as we are exporting unprocessed products, still we are not safe. Why? Because we get little revenue or income or the tax, because our commodities are not fully processed. Because what we export, in turn these other countries make them into finished products, and in turn they bring it back to Africa where we buy even more expensively. So as a country, I think with the development of technologies, I feel we would be at a safer side if only we could export finished products. Because Uganda as a country, we are very rich. We are very rich. If we can improve technologically in the industries, we empower our people to value agriculture, automatically we are going to be okay.
According to legislators, despite Uganda being the richest country in Africa in terms of agricultural products, we are taken advantage of when the goods are sold outside, since there is no value addition.
I think it is a very big opportunity for us as a country to consider the country as part of the African Continental Free Trade Zone, that our goods can go to all the markets in the world, especially in China, Europe, America. I think the onus is on us to see that we are really competitive. You know, we have to compete in terms of our goods, and that has to do with the quality of our goods. We need to improve the quality of our goods so that they can be highly competitive. And the one important thing is to engage our farmers, our producers, especially on issues of handling, post-harvest, the handling of our goods. First, we need to look at the inputs. We need to provide the farmers quality inputs, and then we need to have extension services available for farmers.
As we all know, recently Uganda has been exempted from paying tax to support her goods to Europe, to Asia, and I think this is it comes very handy given the current economic situation. As you know, we are still suffering from the post-COVID, and this is something that's still going to stay with us for a long time. So I think this is an opportunity that we should tap and make the most of it. What I want to employ Ugandans to do is to produce quality goods, quality items, brand our goods well, market it, do value addition, in other words, so that our goods are accepted. I mean, if you go to the stalls in supermarkets here, you find peanut butter from UK, peanut butter from USA, and we are the leading producers of granuts and sim. It really pains my heart. And when you taste the peanut or the peanut butter, it doesn't taste as nice as the one we make back home here.
These have urged the government to provide farmers with cutting-edge farming methods that will advance the sector, which currently accounts for the majority of the nation's international exports.
First of all, as a country, we need to begin with the change of mindset, that it is something, agriculture itself has a lot of money in it. But our people lack the skills that they should be given. And therefore it means that the extension workers must really do their work. I remember when I was still growing, the extension workers were really on the ground. They would teach the farmers what time to open the land, what time to tilt it, what to plant, the kind of seeds, and so on. But if you see carefully, these days we have modified seeds. And when you look at the trend of our farmers, most of these farmers are very poor who cannot really buy seeds from these agri shops. So the idea that our traditional way of keeping seeds is also, in a way, people from the West are trying to discourage us.
Government and people of Uganda, I think first and foremost, we need to see to it that we produce, we enhance production, and we add value to our Ugandan products to meet our domestic market demands. So our policy of enhancing production, productivity, and value addition to meet our domestic market demands in form of import substitution is still relevant to us. Secondly, we need foreign exchange. Where do we get this foreign exchange from? It's from trading with our partner states. Our most immediate market for us, beyond the 45 million population that we have in Uganda that includes nationals and refugees, is the East African Community market, of the 7 member states.
African economies, including Uganda, have embarked on an ambitious program of regional integration in the form of African continental free trade. This means Uganda will increase its exports to the international markets, especially in the manufacturing sector. Sam Lanifa, SMART24 TV, today.
Those have been the stories that we managed to get for you here on the business edition that runs on SMART24 TV, where we drive business. You can find us on GoTV and DSTV, and if at all want to make us business with us, please feel free to come here at Nile Avenue so that we can be able to negotiate and see how best we can expand your business. That has been the business edition. Let's hook up next Sunday with the same person, Pedi Son Mumbre. Have a good night, but still don't drink and drive. Bye-bye.
SMART24